It was December 27, 2025, when the call came in. A routine welfare check, something many would think nothing of. But what authorities found behind the closed door, it shattered all notions of normalcy. Inside that house on Bosler Lane, O'Fallon, Illinois, there was no peace. There was only terror. 72-year-old Tracy Nguyen had been unreachable for days. Her family, worried, called for help. What they didn't expect was to find a crime scene. A life snuffed out. A woman whose kindness had touched so many, now lying cold in her own home. What should have been a simple check-in now told a far darker story. A mother found dead in the most violent of ways, and her son, David Nguyen, was nowhere to be found.
Welcome to Shocking True Crime. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily updates on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to subscribe.
David Nguyen. A son. A man whose bond with his mother was once unbreakable. Now, he stands accused of her murder, a brutal act that defied any sense of reason. But the questions linger, unanswered. Why? What could drive a man to kill his own mother? And how far would he go to cover it up? December 27, 2025. By the end of that day, one life had been lost, and another would never be the same. As the investigation unfolds, secrets begin to unravel, secrets of betrayal, lies, and a man trying to erase the evidence of his sin. What really happened that night behind closed doors? Was this just a tragic twist of fate, or was it something more? A mother's death, a son's guilt. And the truth, buried in ashes. December 27, 2025. O'Fallon, Illinois, a quiet, modest town that hides its secrets behind neatly trimmed lawns and family-friendly homes. But within this peaceful neighborhood, behind a two-story house on Bosler Lane, something tragic had occurred. The Nguyen family had been trying to reach 72-year-old Tracy Nguyen for days, but their attempts had failed. Concerned for her well-being, a welfare check was requested. No one could have anticipated what the officers would find inside. There, lying lifeless on the living room floor, was Tracy Nguyen. A woman known for her warmth, kindness, and constant smile. But now, there was only coldness. No signs of forced entry. No struggle. The home that had once echoed with the sound of a mother's laughter was silent. And yet, that silence held a secret far darker than anyone could imagine. Tracy's life had been stolen, and in its place was a chilling quiet that hid the truth. How had she died? And why? The investigators knew one thing for sure: this was no natural death. The absence of any signs of struggle suggested something more calculated, something that didn't happen by chance. David Nguyen, a 38-year-old man, immediately became a person of interest in his mother's death. But why would a son kill his own mother? What would drive someone to commit such a brutal act? Was it a robbery gone wrong? Or was there something more insidious lurking beneath the surface? At first glance, David seemed unremarkable. A quiet man, no known criminal history. But as the investigation unfolded, a different picture began to emerge, one filled with complexities and hidden struggles. Behind closed doors, David had faced a troubled past, a history of financial instability, strained relationships, and personal demons. He was a man struggling with his own battles, and those battles were about to collide with tragedy. But there was one detail that haunted investigators. A note in his file, tucked away in the corners of his past, hinted at something darker. Was David's troubled mind the key to understanding why he would murder his own mother? Or was there something more? The more they dug, the more they realized, David was not the man they thought they knew. And the truth, it seemed, was buried deeper than anyone had expected. As the investigation continued, a single question echoed through the minds of everyone involved. What could possibly have driven a son to kill the woman who had given him life? Was it anger, desperation, or something far more tragic? And what would come to light as the investigation unfolded would reveal a side of David that no one could have predicted. As law enforcement zeroed in on their prime suspect, David Nguyen's escape began. With the pressure mounting and his mother's murder hanging over him, David made a choice. A stolen vehicle. A high-speed chase. A reckless attempt to outrun the law. But what was David running from? And why did he flee in such a reckless manner? By 4:30 p.m., after hours of pursuit, David's flight came to an abrupt end just outside Concordia, Missouri. His vehicle, now a crumpled heap, lay motionless in the woods. The man who had been the center of a statewide manhunt was now in police custody, his desperate escape over. But even as he was arrested, the investigation was far from complete. What had driven David to such extremes? What was the real story behind his actions? For a moment, it seemed as though the chase had been the final chapter. But for David Nguyen, the real battle was just beginning. On New Year's Eve 2025, as the world celebrated the turning of a new year, David Nguyen's future was sealed in a St. Clair County courtroom. Murder. Concealment of a homicidal death. The charges were stark, but the picture they painted remained incomplete. What had driven David to kill his mother? Was this a carefully planned crime, or did something snap in the heat of the moment? Prosecutors worked tirelessly to piece together the fragmented evidence. From Tracy's untimely death to the desperate flight across state lines, there were more questions than answers. What was the motive behind such a horrific act? And why had David gone to such lengths to conceal the truth? Was it a crime of passion, or had something darker been simmering beneath the surface all along? David's silence spoke volumes. Was it guilt, fear, or something more? As the prosecution prepared to present their case, one thing was clear: David's actions had left a trail of destruction far beyond the confines of that house on Bossler Lane. As the legal proceedings moved forward, all eyes were on David Nguyen, waiting for the truth to finally emerge. What had happened in that house? And what was the real cost of a son's betrayal? The details were chilling. It wasn't enough for David Nguyen to simply kill his mother. Prosecutors alleged that, in an attempt to erase any trace of his crime, he set his sights on destroying the house itself. The gas burners were left on, but unlit. A candle was placed in a critical spot. His plan? To create an explosion that would engulf the house in flames, obliterating any evidence of what had occurred. Was this an impulsive attempt to cover his tracks, or a cold, calculated decision to leave nothing behind? David's plan was clear. With the knowledge that his mother had died, he aimed to destroy everything: the house, the evidence, the memories. But the fire he hoped would rage through the house never took hold. The candle did not spark an explosion. Instead, the investigators arrived in time to piece together the story that was meant to vanish. Tracy Nguyen's cause of death remained a mystery for weeks. As investigators combed through the evidence, they were left with more questions than answers. The autopsy report, held in suspense, was the key that would unlock the truth. Without it, the investigation was a puzzle with too many missing pieces. Did David strike his mother out of anger, in a fit of rage? Or was it something more cold-blooded, more methodical? The autopsy would reveal critical details, but for now, the cause of Tracy's death remained shrouded in mystery. What truly happened in that house? And what part did David play in it? The answers were still just out of reach. Tracy Nguyen was a beloved figure in her community. A mother. A friend. A dedicated worker at the local nail salon. For those who knew her, her impact was undeniable. She had touched countless lives with her kindness, her warmth, and her unwavering spirit. Yet, as the memorial page filled with tributes and fond memories, one question loomed larger than all the others: why did David kill her? She was the kind of person who made everyone feel welcome. She didn't deserve this. We don't understand why. We just don't. Another family member, shaking their head in disbelief, struggles to find the words. She was always there for David. Always. They were close. Or, at least, we thought they were. But then, this. It just doesn't make sense. Tracy's friends and family were left to mourn her loss, but also to grapple with a question that seemed impossible to answer. How could a son, a man with so many people who loved him, commit such a brutal act against the person who had cared for him most? The shock of her death reverberated through the community, leaving everyone to ask, what had gone wrong in the Nguyen family? As the investigation delved deeper, the questions only multiplied. Was David simply an angry son, lashing out at his mother over years of built-up frustration? Was this a crime of passion, an outburst of rage that spiraled out of control? Or was this murder the culmination of a much darker, more disturbing pattern of behavior? Had something more insidious been at play all along? Could there be a deeper motive yet to be uncovered? Was this a financial struggle? A broken relationship that had festered into something far more dangerous? As each new piece of evidence was uncovered, the investigation grew more complex. The truth was still elusive, and the answers still felt far away. With each revelation, the picture only became more complicated. Was this a premeditated act? Or had something inside David snapped that fateful night? The investigation was far from over, and the answers, it seemed, would continue to elude them, until the full truth came to light. The truth of why David Nguyen killed his mother may never be fully understood. Perhaps the answers are buried too deep in the complexities of a family torn apart by something unseen, something no one could have predicted. But one thing is certain, the impact of that decision reverberated far beyond the walls of a small home in O'Fallon. For David, for his mother, and for all those affected, nothing will ever be the same. As the investigation continues, new revelations may come to light. But for now, one question remains: what was David
Welcome to
truly
Shocking
hiding?
True Crime. Thanks to all
What
our
made him
viewers and
act the way
subscribers
he
for
did?
your support.
And what was he trying to
Stay
bury
with us for
beneath the
daily
ashes of that
updates on the
house?
most shocking true crime
Stay
stories.
tuned for more updates.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Will the truth about what really happened that fateful night ever be uncovered? Or is there more to this story than we could ever imagine? The investigation may still be ongoing, but the journey toward understanding is just beginning. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates on this story and others like it. Stay with us as the truth unfolds, piece by piece. The story isn't over yet. Join us for the next chapter of this investigation.